Guys, now let's straight away start with our lab. So what you can see on the screen is the lab topology that we will going to set up. So you can see on the left hand side we have a topology which represents the intranet of some XYZ corporation, right? And that XYZ corporation is running certain servers in its intranet. So for example, the XYZ corporation is running a web server in its intranet, some other server in its intranet, right? And the private network of XYZ corporation is protected by the firewall, right? And then outside, on the outside interface of the firewall, we have entire internet which is connected with the outside interface of this firewall. And you can see that there are certain machines which would going to simulate as some machines which are running out there on the open internet. All right. So you can notice the IP address that I have assigned to these machines. We will going to set up the lab and we will going to assign exactly the same IP addresses. Now, you can see that here is some URL. We have to visit this URL where I have documented the entire lab. So visiting this URL, so we will going to use the same lab in order to practice all types of network address translation that we will going to study. And now in order to set up the lab, you can use GNS3 or EVNG or CML. So these are the three platforms that are available to you. GNS3 and EVNG, if you are not aware, these are the network simulator softwares which you need to install locally on your device, whereas CML is completely cloud-based. In the beginning of this course, I have added a tutorial on how to get started with CML, or you can also have a fourth option where you can deploy your devices on any public cloud such as Azure, AWS or Google Cloud Platform. So as if you are a beginner, then the best option that I would suggest you to get started with CML straight away. In just 10 minutes you can start with CML. Otherwise it's up to you that which platform you would like to go with. If you have chosen to start with GNS3 or EVNG, then these softwares are free, but they require high-end machines. So until or unless you have 16 GB of RAM, and until or unless your laptop is pretty much new, please do not go with this option. Otherwise, I would strongly recommend to go with CML. It's free, but you need to reserve a lab before use. And you can use maximum of 4 hours per reservation. All right. So you can reserve again when your 4-hour slot expires. You need not install anything on your local machine. Lab is accessible remotely over an internet connection. All right. So I will going to show you the demonstration on CML, and from time to time, and maybe at some point of time later, I can switch to GNS3, but you may continue with the same platform with which you have started. Now coming to the lab diagram. So you can see that this is the lab that we are going to build up. This lab is divided into 3 parts. The first part you can see is an intranet which represents the private network of XYZ corporation, right? The second part is this internet, as you can see. Now that internet is a collection of thousands of machines which are running out there, we need some way to represent an internet. So in order to represent an internet, I have taken a router, and this router will going to route traffic between 3 public hosts. These are the 3 public hosts. Public host means some users which are directly connected to an open internet, right? So this router, which is named as ISP, will going to route the traffic between these 3 hosts. So in other words, this ISP router actually represents our entire internet. You can see that in the middle we have a Cisco ASA firewall, which the XYZ corporation has installed on the boundary of its intranet in order to protect its private network against the open internet. Now let me go through what are the devices that I have used in this lab. So firewall, that is the firewall device that I have used in the lab, is nothing but it is a Cisco ASA firewall. Alright, so you can use any version of Cisco ASA firewall, all are equally acceptable for this lab. The rest of the nodes in the topology are nothing but I have used Cisco C7200 routers. So it is the type of Cisco routers, right? If you get this router type, please use this router. Otherwise, I will show you that what other devices you can use as an end host. So in this lab, if you notice that this FTP server, this WS1 which represents a web server, this is public host H1, public host H2, and the web server WS2. You can see that symbolically or icon wise, these machines tend to represent different device types. For example, this is FTP server, this is web server, and this is another web server. But for the sake of the lab, I have used the same type of device, which is C7200 Cisco routers, in order to represent each of these devices, right? So this is done to simplify the lab. Otherwise, you can use different types of devices as you want. So I use the same C7200 device to represent the web servers, FTP server, or end host. So I have to update these names in this blog. But in reality, there are different type of devices connected all over the internet or internet depending on their use. For the NAT demo and keeping the topology simple, I represent every other device in the topology using the same Cisco C7200 routers only. Alright, so if you are spinning your lab, in case if you do not get this router, alternatively you can also use Cisco CSR 1000V routers. Alright, so I will going to spin this lab or start this lab on the CML, and I will show you that instead of using C7200 Cisco routers, you can use CSR 1000V routers also in order to represent the end host. Alright, the reason is that in CML you really do not have C7200 routers. So instead of that, we will going to use CSR 1000V routers. Now you can see the switches in this lab. So this is the switch 1, and this is there is only one switch in this lab, and I have used hubs also. Now hubs do not add any additional value to this lab. Hubs are only used to organize the wiring of this lab or structure the diagram of this lab. Other than that, hubs do not play any role. We have to deploy one switch in this lab, which would going to connect the internal machines of the private network. So now let's straight away go to the CML and let's see how we can build up this lab from scratch.